Hi everyone, my name is Dan Gillis and I'm from the School of Computer Science. I should tell you though that I'm not actually a computer scientist. I've been trained in mathematics and statistics. So you might be wondering, why is a professor in computer science, trained in math and stats, standing here before you to talk to you about food? And that's a valid question. I'm here to tell you about a story about a Farm to Fork project that I co-founded with one of Guelph's community leaders, my friend Danny Williamson, who's sitting over there somewhere. We started the project in 2012. It was a simple idea, but it's come to shape the research and the teaching that I do here. Farm to Fork is an online system that facilitates communication between emergency food providers like Guelph's Hope House, the CSA Food Bank on campus, and the Seed Community Food Hub, with the people in the community who can donate food. I should probably do that. Okay, so how does it work? It's actually quite simple. Basically, people who can donate, they register with the system, and on registration, they're asked to identify the day of the week that they typically go grocery shopping. They're also asked to identify and connect with a local, convenient emergency food provider. The Farm to Fork system then will email all of the donors on the day they typically go grocery shopping with the up-to-date list of grocery needs of the emergency food providers. Based on that list, donors can pledge what they want and then drop it off on their way home. According to what's been pledged, Farm to Fork then updates the system so that we can ensure that all donors get a realistic picture of what's needed, and we can ensure a variety of items are pledged. It's a simple, effective way to improve the state of food security in Guelph and beyond. I'll be honest though, the term food security prior to 2012 really meant nothing to me. If I had to guess, I would have assumed it had something to do with bioterrorism. I was a noob. But during the summer of 2012, my understanding completely changed. Prior to that, basically Danny and I were trying to find a project in town where we could demonstrate to citizens that average citizens could make meaningful difference in the community if they just got off their butts and did something. So after a bunch of meetings, Danny and I sat down and were introduced with Linda Hawkins from the Community Engaged Scholarship Institute here on campus. She in turn connected us with Kate Vistula and Lisa Needham of the Guelph Wellington Food Roundtable and the Food Access Working Group. Chatting with Kate and Lisa, we learned of an issue in Guelph that I think is hidden to a lot of people. They told us of families in Guelph, which is an affluent community, who would often go weeks and sometimes months without seeing fresh fruits and vegetables. And it's not that people in Guelph don't want to help out. It's that we're so busy in our day-to-day lives that we forget of the need. The only time we think of it is during the Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving food drives. Now, hearing this was one thing. What actually was really convenient is the timing when we heard it was almost perfect. About a week prior to this, I had learned that I was going to be taking over CIS 3750, which is a third-year computer science course that tasks students with developing a project right from idea all the way through to a functional prototype. Before I took over the course, the students would typically build a video game, and we decided to change that. Instead, we tasked the students with working with the Guelph Wellington Food Roundtable and the Food Access Working Group to develop the Farm to Fork system. So in the fall of 2012, the Farm to Fork story really got started. So, working with the community partners, we had 30 senior undergraduate students in the classroom working to develop the Farm to Fork system. Through countless meetings and some very contentious debates in class, the students managed by the end of the semester to develop 2 functional prototypes. But more than that, they had also developed what would become the framework for sort of the Farm to Fork story overall. So during the next 2 semesters, a group of dedicated students stuck with me, and they devoted their time to getting the Farm to Fork project ready for the city of Guelph. Around February of 2013, we also began a social media campaign just to let the people of Guelph know what we were up to. The response was absolutely overwhelming. Within a very short period of time, we had people all around Guelph asking us when this thing would be complete so they could start using it. But more than that, we actually started hearing about getting queries from around the country into the US in Europe, and also Australia. And this was not something that any of us were prepared for. So we started a crowdfunding campaign, and thanks to that crowdfunding campaign, our team was able to, a couple of the students were able to present the project at a conference in Newfoundland. And ultimately, by the end of 2013, in October of 2013 specifically, we had launched the website for the city of Guelph. And that launch event, it was an amazing night, one that I won't ever forget. But that's not the end of our story. You remember that I mentioned that the original class had developed this sort of framework for what the Farm to Fork project could be. Well, just before the launch event, we sat down with the team and we decided to sort of develop our game plan. Phase 1 was to develop the Farm to Fork website for the city of Guelph. Phase 2 was to grow our user base, and while also developing a plan to sort of rebuild, if you will, the Farm to Fork program in order to satisfy and make it available to communities around the country and around the world, something that we weren't anticipating, but we found out through social media. Now, you'd think that might be enough to keep us busy, which it was, but we also knew that we could do better. We could do more to affect food security locally and abroad. So now we're working on some new visions. Phase 3 is to finish developing what's going to be the Farm to Fork mobile application. And the idea here is that we're going to use location-based technologies to allow donors to receive messages from the Farm to Fork system the minute they walk into a grocery store or a market. In this way, Farm to Fork becomes a more real-time conversation of needs. Phase 4 is to work with local grocers, specifically at the point-of-sale system. The idea is that when the person walks into the grocery store and gets the alert, not only do they find out what's needed, but they can take their phone and scan that at the point of sale, registering an electronic sale. The idea here is then that emergency food providers can go to the grocery store and pick up the food when they need it. But going one step further, phase 5 is going to work with local farmers. Specifically, we thought, why not identify local fruits and veggies with an extra digit on the PLU, that little number that cashiers use to type in our produce when we go shopping. If we could do that, then maybe we could use Farm to Fork as a payment method for people who can't afford to pay for the food themselves. Instead, they could use either a gift certificate or the actual Farm to Fork app to purchase what's been donated. In this way, people who are suffering from food insecurity can go shopping with the rest of us instead of being marginalized or re-marginalized by having to go over there to get the food they need. More than that, by creating a local PLU, we basically are supporting our local farmers, and that's really good for our economy as well. It's a big and bold vision. It's one that's going to take time. But if I've learned anything from living this story, is that if you give the students something cool to do, they will achieve amazing results. Farm to Fork is going to relaunch the website early this fall for any community around the world to use, free of charge. The mobile app isn't far behind. Before I end, I would just like to take a moment to say thank you to our community partners, to Danny Williamson, the co-founder, and most specifically to the team of students who have continued to work on this project, who have devoted much of their time to help build Farm to Fork. Because without their efforts, this project would have ended at the end of the fall semester in 2012. If you want to get involved, you can help by registering with the system, because we firmly believe that every person deserves access to healthy food. Thank you.